outside experiences of an animator, or perhaps before he ever came to the studio, reflect an awful lot on how you perform, how you act, how you see. Fred Moore, one of the early animators, was a very young man all of his life. He was like the characters that he drew. He developed Mickey into a character who was able to act and act as a human being. But at this time, he was becoming more and more a little boy in this abstract clothing of Mickey Mouse.
So long. I'll be seeing you. I hope.
Bill Tylta was the complete opposite of, say, Freddie Moore. He brought the volatile acting of a man who had been around the world and so on and had this worldliness of how things behaved. Bill did things of enormous scale. This masterful Devil in Night on Bald Mountain, and I consider it one of the masterpieces of animators' draftsmanship and performance.
Most of we animators get awfully involved with our characters, and I think Bill Tylta got involved about as much as anybody I ever knew. I always remember him way back on Pinocchio when he had the character Stromboli, a very volatile Italian, and he would act out, trying to sell himself on the way of doing a scene. You know, he'd act out the scene to a fellow animator, and he'd advance on him with all these gestures and everything, and this guy would be backing up, you know, until there was nowhere to go.
I got it here! You can't get it!
Quiet! Shut him up! Before I knock you silly!
I'll get involved the same way, but, you know, in different ways. So, you know, like with Madame Medusa, you become Madame Medusa sometimes, and you act out, not for other people, but I'd act it out for myself, you know, and I'd go through what she's going to do, and when she very tenderly kisses this alligator.
Snoops, you don't have a way with children. You must gain their confidence, make them like you.
Yeah? How do you do that?
You force them to like you, idiot!
I feel that I could animate anything in the world. See, that I'm not limited by my size or my weight or my sex or anything. I can do anything, you know. There's nothing I couldn't do if I had a good piece of material. The Prince in Sleeping Beauty was about the most uninteresting and almost to the point of calling it odious task I've ever faced. This Prince was really a nothing. Now, Peter Pan, I didn't really enjoy him too much, but he was interesting from his weightless characteristic until I got that all figured out. Then he just became a chore, like almost as bad as the Prince. Oh, well, Medusa was a very, very rich and wonderful character to work on and a challenge. One thing we don't have in animation is spontaneity. It's kind of a very objective, almost cold-blooded approach to it, even though I am involved with the character and feel the personality a great deal, I still have to plan.
High tide or not, that little brat is going to find me that diamond tomorrow, or...
She had to do physical, jerky things through that line. So I had to find things for her to do. I dreamed up this idea of taking her eyelashes off. Your result on the screen has to feel natural and feel like it's exactly in the mood that you're supposed to be in, and it should feel spontaneous. And if it doesn't, it's no good, you know.
Of course you have, but we must try harder, mustn't we?
For most of my animation career, I was lucky enough to work on so-called personality characters, developing, like Jiminy Cricket.
Cricket's the name. Jimminy Cricket.
and the cat and the mice and Cinderella. You know, we did other things besides personality animation. We indulged in a little abstract animation every once in a while. Many examples where we deviated from the little cutesy pie bunnies looking out from behind a tree. There were other times where Walt used music and created a kind of an abstraction. The instruments that he brought to life and After You've Gone. And the use of the soundtrack in The Three Caballeros, which is purely abstraction. It merely took the soundtrack and kind of animated to it. And this wasn't a real personality character. This was something quite different and very pleasing. It might look at times like an Indian rug, but it even got laughs. It's a great outlet for your imagination. You take that pencil, put it on the paper, and you can make anything happen. Of course, the big shocker came with Dumbo, early 1940, 39, with that famous pink elephants on parade. And here was a wonderful, imaginative, surrealistic imagery of a nightmare.
Look out, pink elephants on parade.
I know many times I've been called an iconoclast. Ward has to do things differently. Really, when I analyze it, that was my way of working. Sometimes I had to do it because of sheer boredom. When you animate, it takes so long to do things, and you do things the same way many times, and I kept saying, what's a new approach to this problem? And it had its drawbacks. I made a lot of mistakes, but I made a lot of innovations. Don't forget that.
We have stars to guide us, guitars here beside us, to play as we go.
To me, it was a rewarding experience because I got to use my imagination more than I had ever been allowed to use it before.
There was always a rivalry, always a competition. But the genius of Walt in respect to this was the fact that he kept all of these varied personalities working together without killing one another.
Stay tuned. Walt Disney Presents will be right back.
It's really animation in 3D where they program movements in sync with sound. I'm here with Imagineer Bruce Long at Epcot. So, any of these guys ever go nuts on you?
Well, Tom, I try not to let that happen. There are more than 1,700 audio animatronic figures all over Walt Disney World and more than 1,000 at Disneyland. And the most powerful ones operate under 3,000 pounds of pressure. Our first figures only knew on and off, so he never knew what they were going to do in testing. Once, we had a country bear throw an upright piano across the stage. But today, our figures are a lot more gentle and can even shake hands.
There you go, Adriana. Today, you can trust an audio animatronics figure. Thanks, Bruce. Mostly.
Find out more about Imagineering at www.goodisney.com, part of Go Network.
See you next time on Disney's
Imagineer that!